So where did this style of music, that is Christ-centered hard rock and heavy metal music, come from? Who were the pioneers, the founders, the innovators who created it and developed it? In this 4-part series that I'm calling A History of Christian Rock and Metal Music, I'm going to do my best to dig in and find the answer to those questions and many more and share them with you. Of course, because this is my channel, all of this is going to reflect my personal tastes and experiences with music. So if you have additional thoughts or perspectives or information to share, man, jump down there in the comments and pontificate away, and I can't wait to read it. Here in episode 1, I'm going to go all the way back to the 1960s and see if we can't try to pin down a moment or at least a season in time when what we know today as heavy metal and Christian hard rock were first conceived. I'm so glad you're here with me for this journey, man. This is going to be awesome. It's going to rock you up for Jesus, and it all starts right now. Rocking you up for Jesus Christ with classic style hard rock music and practical Bible teaching. I went to Google and I typed in the question, who invented heavy metal? And the answer I got was pretty much what I expected. Of course, the first result was a Wikipedia page, so I clicked on it, and here's what I read. Many historians believe that Black Sabbath invented heavy metal music in the late 1960s. The band played loud hard rock music based on blues music. Heavy metal music was mostly based on the sounds of the electric guitar. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey man, wait a minute. Black Sabbath wasn't a Christian band, and you're right. But Christian rock and metal and Christianity in general have always been a redemptive movement, seeking to redeem something that was broken and bring it back and make it new for the glory of God. So in order to be able to identify the launchpad moment for Christian metal, we've got to do our best to go back and figure out, okay, so when did the genre of metal itself begin? Black Sabbath created a huge splash with their blues-based hard rock music in the 1960s, and that splash created a massive tidal wave of inspiration that has come down through history and inspired many musicians, including many Christians, who picked up their instruments and wanted to rock out for Jesus Christ. In 1972, a young man named Larry Norman, who admittedly was inspired more by Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis than he was by Black Sabbath, but still the genre of rock, he came along and he wrote a song called Why Should the Devil Have All the Good Music? Listen to Larry's lyrics from verse 1. I want the people to know that he saved my soul, but I still like to listen to the radio. They say rock and roll is wrong. We'll give you one more chance. I say I feel so good, I gotta get up and dance. I know what's right and I know what's wrong. I don't confuse it. All I'm really trying to say is why should the devil have all the good music? What Black Sabbath did for the genre of hard rock and metal music, Larry Norman did for the Christian world of rock and roll with this release. The actions of both artists, Black Sabbath and Larry Norman, in both of their respective lanes, opened doors of creative expression for a whole crop of musicians coming down the pike that would never be closed again. In that same year, 1972, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, some of my fellow Hoosiers got together and formed a little Christian rock band that would soon become known as Petra. Founding member and guitarist Bob Hartman credited Larry Norman with inspiring him to dive in and pursue Christian rock. In another article on Wikipedia, I found this. Hartman, already a rock musician when he became a Christian, struggled at the time with whether Christians could glorify God through rock music. He credited the work of musician Larry Norman as inspiring him to continue in Christian rock. I'll never forget the first time I heard him. The freedom Larry had on stage, that freedom just to be himself, really set me free in my songwriting. It really set me free in the establishment of Petra. The band was signed to Myrrh Records in 1973, and their self-titled debut album, Petra, came out in 1974. By the way, Petra is a Greek word that of course means rock. And the rest, as they say, is history, with the arrival of Petra coming on the scene, bringing their brand of Christ-honoring hard rock, which it's funny, you go back and listen to their music now, and it's very 70s sounding, but man, it was solid, great rock and roll music. And with them coming on the scene, rock and roll in the Christian world was here to stay. Inspired by Larry Norman and Petra in the mid to late 70s, many other Christian hard rock bands like Jerusalem and Resurrection Band and Degarmo Key came on the scene and began to rock for the rock. To this day, I love so many of those hard rock Christian bands from the 1970s. And of course, their music provided the inspiration for the bands that came along in the 80s and even the 90s that I just absolutely cut my teeth on and love to this very day. But that's going to have to wait till episode number 2, okay? Thanks for joining me for this one. If you've got other thoughts and perspectives, leave them in the comments. Can't wait to read them. And I'll catch you in the next episode.